Happy Monday, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of VCTV. VCTV is the Venture Capital TV, and it's from LATOKEN. So this is the second year of VCTV, which is we started off. Sorry, I've got one other speaker here. Sorry, yeah. So this is the second year of VCTV. We launched VCTV in year 2020 in February 2020 because of the pandemic. And this is the second year running. I'm very excited to host VCTV every day, Monday till Friday. And I have a fixed timing of hosting it at 8 p.m. Singapore time. And we cover different topics. We have speakers who are investors from different parts of the world, covering different portfolios, different technologies and sectors. So this is the start of the week, Monday, and we have a very, very interesting topic to discuss today. Very much recent on buzzing and making news all over the world, on all the news channels, on social media as well. It's about cryptocurrency regulations and adoption in 2021. So every day I come on social media channels and I read about Bitcoin, so altcoin, Dogecoin, and this and that bank making investments or planning to make investments. Besides fintech companies embracing Bitcoin. So yes, so let's discuss what's happening in terms of regulations, because that's a very tricky part. People say regulations of crypto is going to kill innovation, and so on and so forth. Lot of things have been written, a lot of things have been said. So let's hear about now in 2021, what's happening in the space, what's buzzing. So before I start introducing the speakers of the panel today, I've got a very interesting panel of speakers, starting from lawyers, economists, and investors. So it's going to be very interesting, and we're talking about regulations. Okay, my name is Sunny Mohanty. So I'm the regional director of LATOKEN based here in Singapore, and I host VCTV every day. That's me. Coming back to our speakers, I like to start with a quick intro and background. I'm going to start with Dr. Nicola from Switzerland. Hi, Nicola, Storm Partners. Welcome to VCTV. How are you today?
I am fine, thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm the legal manager at Storm Partners. We are based in Switzerland. We follow mostly DeFi and tokenization projects. And we are currently assisting let's say, some interesting developments in the regulation of DLT-based digital assets.
All right. Thank you for that quick intro, Nicola. Really appreciate that. So we have Samar Veer, who's joined us for the first time from my apology, O1EX. So Samar Veer, over to you, please, with a little intro and background.
So hello, everyone. So basically, I represent O1X Capital and working there as an investment analyst. And about O1X Capital, so O1X is an investment firm, a fund or a family office based out in Dubai. So we invest in early to growth companies, and we are more inclined into blockchain and crypto space, and has been aggressively investing in the fintech space. Right. But our sister company in India is also investing in the deep tech technology companies also. And recently, we have just partnered with the startup accelerator program called TDFi. So TDFi is a startup accelerator program for DeFi and NFT ventures. And we don't just provide funding, we also provide strategic advisory and help in scaling up the operations of the projects. So that's pretty much about it.
Thank you, Samar Veer, and welcome to VCTV. So next I have Julia from Hong Kong. Hi, Julia. Welcome back. I really like the red background and your. By the way, happy Chinese New Year. We live in the region.
Yeah, happy Year of the Ox. Happy Year of the Ox, Sunny.
Yes, you too. Quick intro and background, please, Julia.
Sure. I'm a lawyer in Hong Kong. I do corporate finance and quite a lot in the crypto and blockchain space. And I've recently been presenting a 7-part webinar series just on crypto regulation, focusing mainly on Hong Kong, but looking at some other jurisdictions and comparing them. So I'm very keen to share what I've been looking at recently over the last few weeks in the regulatory space in crypto.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Julia, and welcome back. Fabio, welcome back. Please help intro yourself.
Hello, everybody. I'm an economist by training. I have a PhD in economics from the University of Chicago. And in my life, I've worked at international institutions such as the International Monetary Fund, the European Central Bank, the Gulf Organization for Industrial Consulting, and in the private sector, for example, Goldman Sachs in London, the Oman Investment Fund in Oman. So I have both a training as economist and also as a financial professional. Lastly, I became partner of an investment bank called Golden Eagle, based in New York, but with offices in Dubai and Hong Kong. And my main function is to help innovative companies, including those in fintech, crypto, decentralized finance, to list on the over-the-counter market in New York. The over-the-counter market in New York is a place where innovative companies can raise funds to pursue their objectives, to complete their business plan. So that's in a nutshell, my background.
Thank you so much, Fabio, and welcome back. So, talking about crypto, there's a lot going on in the crypto right now, as we all know here. Some say too much and too fast. Others complain that United States is too slow, falling behind because its rules are outdated and unfit to address the inventions that blockchain technology has created. But markets and regulators have been here before. The basic overarching issue is that digital asset innovation has outpaced our regulatory framework. That was said by Timothy Massad of Harvard, who is formerly the chairman of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission and has written extensively about crypto asset oversight. That's not unusual. There's always a tension between innovation and regulation. So, so let's talk about regulation. I'm going to start with a very open question because I know India just announced something in the cryptocurrency space. Nicola covers whole European Union, and Julia Hong Kong focused, and Fabio global. So I'm going to start with the open question: what's happening with crypto regulation? Starts with summary from India News, which is very recent and making making rounds in terms of news. Over to you, Samarveer.
So basically, India in the first week of February, announced a new cryptocurrency regulation bill, which is planning to ban all the on-ramp and off-ramp crypto to fiat solutions. So basically, it means that any company which is related to any cryptocurrency buying or any exchange which is currently related to cryptocurrency is now will be closed and banned. And also the new regulatory bill also includes that RBI, the Reserve Bank of India, will announce its own cryptocurrency or a digital asset. Yeah. So that will be totally governed by the central government and the Reserve Bank of India. Yeah. So that is what is currently happening in India.
So how will it affect? Because I was looking at one of those interviews, webinars, where one of the founders of a cryptocurrency exchange out of India, who was very bullish about retail investors and institutional investors investing into cryptocurrencies, be it Bitcoin or altcoins. People have invested their money in. How is that going to affect the investors?
Obviously, it is going to create a FUD kind of sentiments in the market, right? In 2017, also the RBI banned the cryptocurrency trading and anything related to blockchain. But Supreme Court or the main judicial court announced it to revert the bill. So after that, the volume of the cryptocurrency in India started increasing by more than 300%. Right. In these 2 years, the volume from the Indian market just increased by 300%. So India is an expanding country in the blockchain and crypto space, and many startups that we are currently investing and participating in are from India. But this news has suddenly created a negative vibes around India, and volumes are currently dropping in after the news. So because everyone is rushing in for exchanging their crypto to fiat. So yeah. That is what is going on.
No, definitely, because of the news, the trading volumes have been affected. Hence, the
Yeah.
founders in the space who have invested their money and the investors are going to get affected. Okay, thank you. Julia, over to you with your opening insights about what's happening in the crypto space. It's very interesting for you as a lawyer.
Sure, it really is. So I think Hong Kong is kind of charting a middle course. China's banned crypto completely. India seems to be being quite restrictive from what I'm hearing. We've got places like Gibraltar, which have got whole, which is, I think they're about the 4th largest in the world now for actually hosting crypto exchanges and so on, even though it's such a small jurisdiction, because they have a sort of specialist law which actually deals with this. But Hong Kong has sort of got a middle path. A bit like the route adopted in the US and the UK to take existing regulation and perhaps do consultations, try to adapt it, and to roll out regulation. So in Hong Kong, we up to now have had actually no regulation of any crypto which is not a security or a futures contract. So Bitcoin, etc., has been completely unregulated in Hong Kong, apart from some general anti-money laundering laws. But we actually have had a consultation which has come out that the government wants to try to bring Hong Kong in line with the FATF requirements. So there's now a consultation saying that crypto exchanges will be regulated even when they don't trade securities. We don't know when that will be introduced. So they'll be regulated. They will have to go through anti-money laundering checks and so on, which of course many of them do already. But the big thing is that they will only be able to deal with professional investors, which will be quite a big difference. So that really means that quite a few of these exchanges may certainly divert a lot of their business offshore. Although we're only talking about them dealing with professionals only in Hong Kong, they may deal with professionals somewhere else. In Hong Kong, we've got securities token offerings being actively considered, and a lot of debate with securities exchanges. And there's a recently licensed by the SFC, there's a recently licensed crypto exchange which can list securities tokens called OSL. And there's been a lot of debate around the whole ecosystem for listing securities tokens. So this is all developing quite well in Hong Kong. We've also got quite a lot of asset managers, brokers who are applying to the SFC for licenses to also be able to do this in the crypto space. They may be able to do it in an unlicensed fashion, but a lot of them want to be licensed for legitimacy, particularly when we've got more institutions coming into this market. They tend to want to deal with licensed exchanges. But I think one of the exciting things recently was a couple of days ago was actually the ETF that was approved in Canada, because of course there aren't any ETFs approved yet in the US. There's a couple of one submitted and one is resubmitted to the SEC, because I think there's a feeling that the new administration in the US at the SEC may be more crypto friendly. And if Gensler's approved, then there may be some maybe some ETFs issued in the US, which of course will be huge because that's real access to investors very easily to a whole range of crypto through ETFs. And there's a lot of other things I can talk about, but I'll let somebody else take a turn now.
Sure. Thank you so much, Julia, for that introductory sort of insight into the crypto whole regulatory, covering utility and security tokens. Very good. Nicola, over to you. Some news from the European Union from you, please.
Yeah. Okay. I will start with Switzerland. I move to the European Union. So in Switzerland, I want to start with it because actually, really recently, in the beginning of February, a new law entered into force concerning the basically security tokens. So the possibility to have the shareholder book of a company on a distributed ledger, or to issue debit obligations and equity through in the form of DLT-based digital assets. This new bill also allows for the construction of market infrastructure based on DLT. So actually now the Swiss stock market exchange is building its own DLT market infrastructure in order to be able to list and trade security tokens. So mainly Switzerland is moving in this regard to be able to enable traditional financial institutions to use DLT technology and to issue DLT-based financial assets. In Europe is happening some kind of the same thing. So Luxembourg passed a really similar bill to the Swiss one. But in Europe, we have two main proposals from the European Commission. One is based on it's called the MiCA proposal, the market of crypto assets, and it regards normal, let's say the normal crypto asset, not the security tokens. The other ones regards the security tokens and also the market infrastructure that use PLT and will be able to list and trade security tokens. So the approach, the regulatory approach, is now getting to like two different ways, one for security tokens, the other one for, let's say, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other crypto assets.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those opening insights, Nicola. Really appreciate it. Next, I have Fabio. Fabio, over to you with your opening remarks. Fabio, we can't hear you.
Yes, I can hear. The issue of regulation is a really tricky one, because the whole point of cryptocurrencies and what rotates around them, like fintech, decentralized finance, has the ambition of bypassing the regulation currently in place for traditional finance, for banking, for stock exchange, and everything else. So, in other words, this was in the cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin in particular, was intended as a revolution. Now, you can't have a revolution with the permission of the government. And the issue is that obviously the government is trying to thwart all effort to create a financial system that is outside its reach. The case of India and China are paradigmatic. They don't want a financial system that challenges the power of the central government. Now, the phenomenon has grown so big that governments cannot ignore it or cannot fight it.
True.
With traditional means. So the outright prohibition will be pointless, will be unenforceable to a large extent. But they can, for example, use certain areas, certain provision of the law, for example, the KYC, the Know Your Client principles, to reduce or to slow down the wider acceptance of cryptocurrencies and the links between traditional finance and the cryptocurrency world. And they've done it quite efficiently so far. On the other side, they see the authorities, the central banks, the governments, see the merits of the cryptocurrencies and are trying to provide some of the services that cryptocurrencies have been able to deploy, in particular in the payment system. That is why a lot of central banks are trying to issue what they're called cryptocurrencies, but they are not cryptocurrencies. They are digital currencies, like the digital euro, the digital yuan, the digital dollar, and so on and so forth. What is this stuff? This stuff is not a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. It's just a means of payment which facilitates the transaction in fiat currencies, bypassing the credit card circuits or the banking system more generally. So the bottom line is this: the challenge for the cryptocurrency enthusiasts is to devise a system of regulations which does not hinge on governments and central banks or other authorities.
Right.
This is not unusual because from the historical point of view, the modern finance in places like Amsterdam, Florence, Venice was built on a system of self-regulatory frameworks. So in Florence, the bankers had, a common set of rules which were enforced in the financial community, and to a much lesser extent by the city governments or by other authorities. So this is the holy grail, one should say, of this new decentralized finance and cryptocurrency world.
That's the holy grail. Rightly said, Fabio. Thank you so much. We have a question from one of the viewers, and the question from Marco Poblet. Cryptocurrency linked exchange traded products in Europe have surpassed 4 billion euros in assets this year, a level that cements the category as a serious driver of industry growth. What is your opinion of the future of crypto ETF and regulated startups operating in the space, such as custodians, issuers, and index providers? Who would like to take this question, please?
As is about Europe, I can answer.
Yes,
I would say I have a good vibe for the future of this industry. In Switzerland, exchange can enjoy a sound regulatory framework. There is no doubt of what their obligations are. As my colleague said earlier, mainly the obligations regarding AML and KYC. Every exchange and custodian in Switzerland needs to be licensed as a financial intermediary. Once you have done that and you have in place AML and KYC checks, you can operate with your clients. There are no more limits. What Switzerland is trying to do, I also would like to reply to what Fabio said earlier. I think that this revolution that Bitcoin brought was kind of understood here in Switzerland. And what they are trying to do now is like, we acknowledge this happened. Let's try to in some way regulate it and like to put some checks, as you said earlier, between traditional finance and decentralized finance in order at least to see what's going on in the space. They have done it so far and it's actually working. And the good thing about Switzerland is that you have these approaches based on dialogue with also the regulatory authority. So when you have a project, also if it's innovative, you can speak with them and listen what they have to say to you, and so go on with the regulatory path.
right. Thank you so much, Nicola. Julia, your comments?
Sure. Well, obviously, I'm not talking quite so much about Europe, although, of course, I know that ETFs have got going in Europe. And, of course, as I was mentioning, they just started in Canada, not yet in the US. But I think it's absolutely right that the ecosystem of custodians, administrators, and so on around the whole crypto space in some areas, certainly in Hong Kong, is quite probably underdeveloped. And it's interesting that under the current government proposals that they're consulting on to regulate exchanges, they're not going to regulate virtual asset service providers on the basis that there aren't that many of them yet in Hong Kong to regulate. But that's going to be an area which FATF says should be regulated, but it's not going to be regulated in Hong Kong. But to do a securities token offering or to do any kind of offering, you need that whole ecosystem of professionals who are actually understand the whole crypto space. And I think that has been a challenge in some jurisdictions. I do notice, however, that Bank of New York Mellon has just announced that they are going to custody Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So clearly this just is moving more and more into the mainstream when we're getting very major US custodians who are going to custody Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Julia. all latest news. Anyone would like to take this, Fabio, or any?
I can add that certainly there is a need to have reliable plumbing of the system, of the financial system that rotates around the cryptocurrencies in terms of custodians, transfer agents, exchanges, and so on and so forth. Because so far, and we know from the bad experiences of exchanges that have disappeared or where assets were stolen without any possibility of recovering, that there is a lot to be improved. This being said, it's the challenge is not to have only custodians that operate in cryptocurrencies. The challenge is to have custodians who can switch between cryptocurrencies and fiat money, between a stock exchange, traditional stock exchange like Nasdaq, and hopefully stock exchange that will be where transaction will be exclusively in cryptocurrencies, so that the ICO and all the innovations that we've seen and we've experienced over the recent past can grow and reach the point and the reliability of the traditional financial architecture.
Thank you, Fabio, for that. Anyone would like to take this question? If not, Samarveer, would you like to take this question? If not, I move to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the step of this, I mean, the Canada allowing the BTC ETF will also motivate other countries to start entering into this field. And secondly, I mean, in the second half of 2020, I think the big traditional funds start flowing money into the crypto markets, right? So I think this decision was a long time coming, and it will help to motivate other countries to follow the same steps and regulate the crypto and blockchain space like that.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's talk about ICOs and STOs. So, which is going to do you think the ICOs are going to be, we see more ICOs in the coming years, or are they going to be only STOs? I'd like to start with Dr. Nicola with that. What's your take on that?
I think that STO are definitely going to expand in the future, also because of these regulatory novelties that allows in a way more easy, let's say in an easier way to pursue these kind of offerings. But still, I think that the time for ICO is not finished. And of course, some other projects may come out with interesting new cryptocurrencies or utility tokens. And so there will still be space for that. In particular, if we look at the EU regulation, we really see that there is one regulation for security tokens and one other that is the MiCA one, which regards only payment and utility tokens.
Right. Thank you so much. Julia?
ICOs in Hong Kong remain pretty much unregulated. There's going to be a great attraction of using ICOs. I think perhaps when security tokens become a more well-trodden path, I can see great attractions to them, and there won't be the need to sort of shoehorn various projects into being use tokens, which is what ICOs often are. But at the same time, whilst that remains a much less regulated space, it's always going to have its attractiveness, I think, despite the fact that other areas like STOs and stable coins and so on are likely to grow at the same time exponentially, particularly when there's well-trodden paths when they're regulated.
Thank you. Samarveer, I mean, I see a lot of Indian entrepreneurs into the crypto space. So what's your take on that? ICOs or STOs?
I think ICOs was a huge trend in 2017-18, but right now there is a growing trend in STOs as well. we are we are witnessing a lot of companies that are mostly inclined towards the STOs as compared to ICOs. So yeah, IEOs and STOs, I'm very much bullish about these. But yeah, I think this will continue to grow, the STO
That's
trend.
good. That's good, Fabio. Your insights about. I think someone's got the dog,
The,
the pet somewhere.
I don't know exactly. It's hard to make predictions. What I can say though is that there will be a selection based on results. So in this space, we'll have an inverted Gresham law. The Gresham law says that the bad currency supplants the good one. Here it will be the opposite. The good currency will take out the bad one because it's it depends on the results and the success of this ICO or SDO, which one will prevail. We're still in a sort of wild west. Most people don't understand the at the deeper level what each of these operations mean. So there are a lot of amateur or gullible people who are driven by promises and hopes. It needs this market needs to be cleaned up by a bunch of shady characters and unlikely to succeed projects. So this is an area, for example, where some sort of self-regulatory framework can be devised. In other words, there could be advisors or third parties which will issue judgment on the various offerings, and that could be, how can I say, a business opportunity for lawyers, for example, or people with a background or with a reputation to spend and hopefully improve the whole ecosystem.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Fabio. Great points there from all of you. I've just a question for Samar Veer, because it's a very recent topic that's trending right now. How India's new bill on cryptocurrencies will impact Bitcoin investors, only Bitcoin investors? How it's going to impact that?
Like I told you, after the upliftment of the Supreme Court, the bill of by the Supreme Court, the volumes increased very sharply. But after this bill, even G20 and the US and UA have found ways to regulate crypto asset activities to mitigate the risks and promote the benefits, right? But India and China hasn't been able to achieve that much. So by this bill, I think they are what they are planning to introduce by their own digital asset is to make it more taxable and make it more benefit for the government, right? But due to this, they have also announced a strict punishment for the crypto traders, for the BTC traders, right? So the new bill also proposed a 10-year prison sentence for anyone who mines or generates or even holds Bitcoin, right? So this will definitely create a negative sentiment across India, right? So trading in cryptocurrency was a earlier also was a regulatory gray area in the past, right? So giving many enterprising individuals a new avenue for the investment. But I think with this bill and due to the volatility in its value, many investors, will avoid cryptocurrencies for now in India, I think.
Hmm. Interesting. Nicola, over to you, because you obviously represent investment firm. So, do you see many entrepreneurs in the space who are looking to grow and probably approaching you for fundraising. So what's the best advice? What advice do you give such entrepreneurs? For example, they've created a new token. They've got a new token, and it has that's been back to a business case. As existing, and they have MBV, they have community, and an existing business case. What's your best advice and in terms of best practices for those founders?
We advise many projects that launch token offerings, and we actually advise also on the launching of token offerings. Actually, this is what also Fabio was saying earlier. I think that the market is quite full of projects that are kind of not really good projects, let's say. So the first thing I say to my clients when they launch a token is have a clear token economics. Have really established clearly what's the function of the token. Why is this token meant to gain value over time? And also explain it in the right way to the potential investors. When you have done that, also, of course, be compliant with all regulations that that are relevant with regard to your token offering, and so you can establish also a good relationship with potential investors, not giving rise to false promises and false expectations.
Yeah, thank you so much. We'll take this question after a question from our audience. Okay, we got another question from an audience. Okay, same person, I guess. We've got this question. Market manipulation has been an issue in the crypto space, not unlike traditional markets pre-2008. As example, OKEX manipulated 400 million of futures contracts in 2018 by prematurely forcing futures into liquidation. The EU Commission has suggested a new regulation stating that crypto derivatives exchange must use a third-party pricing agent. How do regulators ensure robust and reliable pricing of crypto derivatives in Hong Kong? That's for Julia.
Well, I think the answer is for the unregulated sector right now, they don't at all, because as I've mentioned, there's a whole sector at the moment of crypto assets such as Bitcoin and so on, which are not securities in Hong Kong. And those exchanges are pretty much unregulated. There may be some minor licenses if they actually accept fiat, but generally if they only accept crypto, there isn't. There's only the anti-money laundering and the general law, of course. There's general law on misrepresentation, there's law on fraud and so on, but there aren't any specific laws which cover that, which is why we have these proposals which will no doubt be introduced, I would have thought, within 2021 to regulate those exchanges. However, for a licensed exchange like OSL, licensed by the SFC, that is heavily regulated. The SFC will be approving it, that OSL's whole processes, including its listing rules, its operational rules, and so on. So that will be a relatively heavily regulated exchange, and so will others that follow that are regulated in Hong Kong. And actually OSL sees this regulation, and so do others, as a sort of a marketing point, because they don't think that there will be a great future for exchanges which are not regulated, which don't have that stamp of approval. So at the moment, it's a mixed picture, but it's moving, I think, towards the regulatory element, which will be quite heavily regulated by many standards.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Julia. Anybody, I know Julia is obviously Hong Kong focused, but anybody would like to add anything to this question? Right. Okay, cool. Samar, I've got this question in continuation with Nicola. What's the best practices you advise the startups which come to you? Because you're also, I gather that you're opening an incubator to cater to the DeFi crypto projects. So what's the best practices you follow before you filter out those projects?
Well, the first thing is to do really a review of the project, of their white paper, of their documents, to talk with them, to know the team. I think that some parts of it is quite common to all startup evaluations, but what we really do is consulting on several topics. Of course, I'm only on the legal side, but we have also business development and this kind of and investor relations. So we help also this client to raise capital. And as I was saying earlier, all these projects, they basically are around one token. And this is the most important things to clear the function of the token itself and the token economics of the project. What they're the most the best suggestion I can give those guys is when you come to such a consulting agency or to investors, have like really clear ideas on what you can do, prepare some answers, imagine what could be the potential questions, and also the downside of your projects. Don't be afraid of like showing people you have some doubts. Of course, in particular, as my role, we are here to help you and to also fix the potential criticism.
Perfect. Nicola, thank you so much. Samar, we're over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, so just I was telling you that we are heavily inclined towards the fintech and blockchain side, right? So with the partnership with the TDFi, I mean, we are heavily investing in the DeFi and NFT sector, right? So in the, I mean, investment aspect, we evaluate firstly the flow of revenue about the project. If they have a particular set of strategy for the continuous flow of money and flow of revenue, that is the first thing we are most inclined. And after that, the regulatory and compliance of the tokens, that is the second part. After that, we also, I mean, the security and the, I mean, the smart contract auditing, which I can say, that will be the next step to move forward from that. So yeah, these are the some of the parameters that we evaluate first, then move forward for the investment.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Fabio, would you like to add something to that? Best practices to be followed, because we see a lot of entrepreneurs with coming up with their own tokens, and what's your advice to them?
A lot of these tokens seem driven by the hope of quick and easy gains. Honestly, they don't have any logic. They don't follow any reasonable plan. In my view, the best practice for token or for any other asset is very simple. You need to have behind the token something of value. I give you an example which I mentioned in other events of on VCTV. For example, we're launching a token in the 3D printing space.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we have a network of 3D printers used by small and medium-sized enterprises to produce artifacts. The token corresponds to 1 hour of machine time, of 3D printing time. So the participant to this network of 3D printers can trade machine time through the token. This is an intelligent, honest, and useful way of adopting a token in the real economy to help manufacturing activities and to provide certainty on the value of the token. Anything else that does not comply with these standards has a gigantic question mark over its plan. So, in other words, the ICO, the SDO, the token, whatever else, needs to be linked in an easy and reliable way to some real world asset, service, or commodity. That is my view.
Absolutely to the point. Like, when you said that just having a token out of the white paper doesn't work these days, has to be backed with a business case, as you rightly said.
has to fulfill a need, must be something useful, not somehow cloudy idea, foggy idea on creating value out of nothing. That
Absolutely.
is, knowingly or not, a fraud. And the fraud is the poison of this new financial architecture hinging on cryptocurrencies, decentralized finance, blockchain, whatever you want to call it. So we need to expel this poison from the system.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I totally agree. Go on.
If I may add
sure.
something to what Fabio said, I really agree with the last part. So in my opinion, the market right now, we have to do a bit of a cleaning up. As Fabio was saying before, maybe some rating agencies specialized on digital assets will come up and will create and because in my opinion, like for me, I review a lot of projects. It's easy for me to understand if there is a real use case behind the project or not. But I think that for a lot of people, it's difficult to do so. And they see the market, they see it's going up. Of course, there is a lot of speculation. They want to earn money. They bet on a project or another one. What we should really do in this space is also educate people in like evaluating the project, trying to see what's behind the project, why you should invest in this project. Because in my opinion, there are a lot of good projects, and also to me, I see a lot of good projects. Sometimes it's difficult also in the marketing to make people understand that this is a good project and it's not a kind of scam or a fraud. So cleaning up, in my opinion, would be a benefit for all.
I think I totally agree, Nicola. There are good projects out there for sure.
Nicola, let me make a proposal to you. Let's create this rating agency, you and I. No, seriously, because it's a great idea. Julia, if you want to participate, yeah.
Thank you.
Really open
I hope
to it,
there's
Fabio.
more success than the US rating agencies in 2008, but yeah.
Okay. We can all think about that offline and probably come with a rating agency for cryptocurrencies or tokens.
Great idea.
Good proposition, Fabio. We've got a question. We've got another question from our very committed viewers. Nathan, yes, Nathan's got a question. Would crypto be better regulated by a central or a decentralized body? It's a tricky one. What's the answer to that? Anyone?
Maybe I need to understand first what is a decentralized body. I don't know. Decentralized by what? By country, by cryptocurrency, by sector. I don't know. Insurance rather than equity investing. So it's not sure. In general, I would say that some sort of central authority would be more reliable and probably better at defining standards and rules in general. If you have a bunch of decentralized bodies, I'm afraid that it could generate a lot of confusion, difficulties to match the various criteria that each decentralized body adopts. So at least initially, I would think that centralization of standards is a better proposition.
Perfect. Anybody else? Oh, another question. Okay. Anybody wanted to take that question? Like central would be government, I guess, or something from the spawning out from the government. But decentralized, I don't know really what does that mean. But anybody would like to ask something to the question before we jump to this?
I think. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Julie.
I'll just say something quickly. I think DeFi will definitely continue to grow and grow because this is the element of a huge use case for blockchain is DeFi. And I think a couple of uses that I'd just like to mention that I can see getting bigger in 2021 are the DeFi derivative exchanges, like MacDex and Perp. They're really, really growing, I think. And they're interesting because they actually are creating a use which is actually layering on top of existing crypto, because they do have derivatives over non-crypto assets, but they're mainly over other crypto assets. So I think the whole DeFi space, yes, it will continue to grow. And whether or not it's regulated really depends on exactly what it's doing and where. And it is extremely difficult to regulate because most regulation and law is not drafted to deal with an entirely decentralized structure. So when you analyze it under a lot of jurisdictions, what I sometimes find is that people come to us and they actually want to be regulated because they actually want the credibility of that, but actually finding a regulator that will take them on, given their decentralized structure, because regulators don't like to regulate an entity that they effectively have no real jurisdiction or control over. So that's a very interesting area as a whole, whether even if these DeFi projects really want to be regulated, whether it's even possible to regulate them in any meaningful way.
Wow, that's a great point, Julia. I mean, that brings back to the fundamentals. Anybody would like to take this question? Anyone else?
Yeah, I work with some DeFi projects, and I actually agree with Julia. I see an increasing trend for DeFi for the future, not only for 2021, really also for a long-term future. I believe this is really the future of digital asset, the decentralization of financial services. But regulating those assets really needs a change in the regulation itself, because it's something unprecedented, and really financial markets law right now has been drafted bearing in mind that central authorities, banks, financial institutions, decentralization is not something really present there. So we need basically to update the law. And one thing I want to add in this regard, so we have reality and the law follows reality. It's not the opposite. So sometimes it's not so clear.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Great points. Thank you so much, Nicola. All right, let's just take some closing remarks. My last question, Bitcoin or Dogecoins, because it's a tricky one. And I mean, obviously, we're not giving you investment advice here, but just for the sake of discussion, Bitcoin or Dogecoin, who would like to take this?
Bitcoin.
Julia?
I think it's pretty clear that what I see is that treasury management of listed companies is moving towards putting Bitcoin into their pool of assets for treasury management. So I would have thought that is bringing Bitcoin into the mainstream. And of course, that's a whole other area of how that will be regulated. And it's going to be interesting if Bitcoin really crashed. What would the SEC say, for example, about how much Bitcoin Tesla has now on its balance sheet? Or perhaps it would be investor action.
Right. Thank you so much. Samar?
Yeah, so I also agree with Julia and Nicola. I'll also go with Bitcoin. I mean, if you see the inherent property of Bitcoin and Dogecoin has the total supply of more than 128 billion. Whereas, I mean, Bitcoin is like a major traditional funds are seeing Bitcoin as a store of value because of the 21 million supply, right? So obviously, I mean, the current, the sentiments going on regarding the Dogecoin is due to the Elon Musk continuous endorsements. Yeah, but overall, the fundamental factors in Dogecoin is not, that much positive.
Right, got it. Fabio?
I don't have any, strong opinion on this. I would imagine that Bitcoin remains the, shall I call it, gold standard because of its role, of its importance, of its history, its path-breaking tradition. So if I were to bet, Bitcoin is the most reliable and most venerable among cryptocurrencies. There are others that could perform important functions, for example, in smart contracts. And if these feature grows in importance and becomes predominant, Bitcoin can see a challenge to its preeminence. At present, I don't see this happening in the foreseeable future.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Fabio, for adding those insights to our existing insights. Very, very interesting insights coming out. Closing remarks. Cryptos would be regulated or not? I mean, we don't have a control on that, but what's your personal thoughts? Regulated or not regulated? It's going to kill innovation, Nicola. What's your
My
thoughts?
personal thought is that we need really to make differentiations. Cryptos like Bitcoin, in my opinion, should be regulated as commodities, because that's the purpose of Bitcoin, being digital gold, and should be regulated as such. Whether, in my opinion, the movement and what we have seen regarding security tokens is good. This regulation that Switzerland and also Luxembourg announced, in my opinion, goes in the right direction.
Perfect, thank you. Samar?
So I think, even after the 100 years of introduction of fiat money or paper money, our financial system is still not that much robust, right? So that was totally controlled by the centralized party, right? But with the coming of, the DeFi and basically cryptocurrencies, this sector needs regulations and compliance, but with certain, there should be a particular boundary that that will differentiate the, both the assets, right? So yeah, cryptocurrencies need regulations. I'm in favor of regulations, but that's not like killing the whole space with one bill, just like India did, right?
Right. All right.
Yeah.
Noted. Thank you. Julia?
I think blockchain generally will be regulated according to the applications that the blockchain technology is used for. And there may be some which actually don't require any regulation at all. What we're really talking about is raising money, storing value, raising capital through different types of instruments. And that, I think, has pretty much always been regulated in one way or another. I mean, we did hear from Fabio, he mentioned the sort of holy grail of sort of self-regulation. And maybe that would happen to some extent in that area, but I think that will increasingly become more regulated. I don't think it should... I think it's important in a way to get streamlined regulation with investor protection, but also so that money can flow into these really exciting blockchain projects, which I think are going to make a lot of goods, services, and so on quicker, cheaper, more democratized, etc. And that's the inherent tension, how to allow the money to come in, but as Fabio said, avoid the fraud at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great insights. Fabio, your closing remarks for the show.
The key issue, as Julia correctly pointed out, is the investor protection, because that's what regulation, at least in their intentions, are for. If you have a DeFi system by which somebody in Australia can directly lend money to a business in Sweden, what happens if the Swedish businessman runs away with the money? Who will protect the investor? So that's the in a nutshell the problem. And on a different level, there is an issue of fiscal treatment of these investments. Because, for example, Nicola says it should be treated as commodity, investment in commodities. But then if the Bitcoin appreciates vis-a-vis the dollar, it will be treated as capital gain. and I don't think this could be helpful for the development of the cryptocurrency. So we need to analyze at different levels the implication of these regulations. In general, I prefer the least possible regulations, because any layer of rules risks to rock the boat and be an impediment for the evolution of this sector.
Perfect. I think we've got very great reviews and insights into this topic today. This topic is never ending. It would continue. It's going to continue for not only for this year and the coming years as well, unless we, as I think Samarvi has left now. I think he's here. Has he left or something? We're saying with he's back with our.
Hey,
I've
guys.
lost. Yes. Okay. With a cash system, the current financial system, we have so many issues as well. So crypto is still very, at its infancy, I would say, still. So thank you so much for sharing and discussing and also answering our viewers their questions, because they would also like to know where to invest. I mean, it's not an investment advice as we all say, but they are keen to get that knowledge from all of you. Thank you so much for making it a really interesting, knowledgeful panel as well. Very engaging and very informative for me and for our audience as well. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of the show. So I'll be back tomorrow on another episode of VCTV and another topic, which is obviously trending, so that people get to know what to do in this current financial situation when going through a lot of drastic changes. Till then, please stay safe, and I'm going to connect you back again on another episode, another panel. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you